Yo, 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 what is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix, and this is going to be your astrology forecast for Monday, August 28th of 2023. I hope that you guys had a wonderful weekend. I pretty much worked the whole time, but hey, I still had a good weekend and stuff. Definitely had some breakthroughs just thinking about my own chart, my own path and stuff, and just like, okay, all right, definitely feeling this Mercury retrograde. Like I said, I think it's going to be a very positive Mercury retrograde. Maybe stressful for some if you're unwilling to make the changes needed, and because this is Virgo is of course mutable, right? So you know, but anyways, like I said, I had a good weekend. Hopefully, yes, you guys had a great weekend as well. Let's go and hop into these transits, right? So, yeah, let's talk about Mercury retrograde, right? Well, it's here at 20 degrees of Virgo. Still doing its thing, and like I said, it's a Mercury retrograde that I think is going to be very positive because there are certain things, certain changes that need to be made. Certain details that need to be ironed out, details that we probably have been like going without for a while. And now, especially now with Mars and Libra too, this is like, are you ironing your shirts? Are you ironing your pants? Are you just wearing them with like tons of creases in them just because it's like you don't really care? You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, no one's really going to notice. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. I'm like, "Ah." You know what I mean? At the very least, throw the clothes like in the dryer. Kind of that's what most millennials do nowadays. Most millennials don't iron. We just throw, if something has too many wrinkles in it, we just throw it in the dryer and forget about it, and then we just we'll let it sit in there. But you know what? That's the thing about it. Ironing things out actually does a better job at it. So it's like, are we actually going to, just kind of be the lazy thing and just throw the clothes in the dryer without it just ironing things out? It gets the wrinkles out, but I guess it depends on how far you want to take it, right? So this Mercury retrograde is going to be great for helping us to go back to the drawing board. Like I said, I made a whole video, like almost 2 hour video on this, so y'all can definitely go check that out. Like I said, I will talk about the Mercury retrograde as it starts to make different aspects. It's getting ready to make the quincunx over to Chiron. So that's going to be a bit of an awkward energy too, especially with the North Node and Eris here as well. So there's definitely going to be this awkward energy where it comes to like, well, when it comes to like these finer details in life, and when it comes to the Chiron energy in life, like how do we approach that? How do we approach bringing our unique qualities and our unique quirks to the table without feeling like we have to just I think there's going to be this feeling where some people may feel like it's like, oh, I have like this weird blemish, I have this weird quirk. Let me iron that out. Eh, there actually may be a lot of power that can come from that, But you have to ask yourselves, like, like how polished do you want to be? Especially now that Mars is in Libra, well, Libra loves to be polished as well. And Mars is now dispositing all of this energy in Aries. It was a Virgo dispositing Chiron and Aries and North Node. Now it's Mars. Now it's Mars and Libra that's dispositing this energy. So there's definitely this element where we're going to be trying to look for some sort of balance and harmony with things. But, this is going to be one of those moments where we have to ask ourselves, like, well, yeah, I have a pretty interesting quirk. How can I dress up the quirk, though? Not suppress the quirk, not get rid of the quirk, but how can I dress it up? How can I take the quirk to the next level? And it's going to feel a little bit awkward. It's going to feel a little bit different. You know what I mean? And it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable because then putting yourself out there, kind of presenting yourself in that way, you're going to start to wonder like, whether it's going to really land with people, whether or not people really will connect with it. But this is not a time to hide those quirks and hide those things. It's a time to sort of dress them up a little bit differently, if you will. Now, you don't want to get so caught up on the wounding. You don't want to get so caught up on it to where, like I said, you let it just stay open and you fester. You want to be able to present this in a way where it inspires and motivates people to become their own leader, if you will, in their life. As Aries, they're natural leaders. To become like that natural leader, essentially. So now, of course, we do have the sun in Virgo, which, like I said, is illuminating this whole space, right? And it's coming off of that opposition to Saturn. It's still there within about a 1 degree orbit. It's coming off the opposition, so it's not as, stressed as far as that goes. Of course, I don't think the sun really ever gets stressed. Maybe when it gets into Aquarius, it gets a little stressed because it's not quite the main character, but it still is the main character. It's just when it goes into Aquarius, they'll give like a 20 or 30 minute expose on one particular on they'll give like a 30-minute kind of preview or expose on Uranus or the Aquarius energy, and the sun just kind of plays a side character just for like a moment, and it's 30 minutes because it's like 30 days, if you will. So it's like, yeah, that's the only place where I think the sun will not feel like it's stressed, if you will, right? So yeah, that sun in Virgo, which is illuminating this whole space on how we can be, more analytical, but hopefully not overly critical. That's the other thing about the Mercury retrograde, is that you don't want to get overly critical about things and try and overhaul every aspect of your daily life, because I don't think really every aspect of your daily life needs to be overhauled. I don't think so. Maybe you think so, but once again, you don't have to there's a lot of still positive energy here, even though energies are slowing down and stopping. You know what I'm saying? We have Mercury, which is retrograde, Venus, which is retrograde. We have Chiron, Neptune, Saturn, Pluto. Uranus is stationed today. And Uranus will end up retrograding towards the end of the day, like around 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So Uranus is stationed. So we are coming to a period where everything is slowing down. Now, Venus is towards the tail end of its retrograde, right? Venus is going to come back online on September 3rd. So we do at least have that going for us. And then we'll have the personal planets that are moving forward, albeit they'll be a little bit separated, but at least we'll have those moving forward. So, we're definitely getting into this weird, tight spot right now in the universe and the energies where it's like we have some things to work with. We have some things that we definitely want to work on. We have some things that we want to, quote unquote, fix or upgrade. There's not really going to be a whole lot of upgrading. I mean, you got to remember, Uranus is the planet of upgrades, and now Uranus coming off. It's like you pretty much have already gotten all of the upgrades that you need. Now, albeit they're probably going to be a little bit more subtle, right? Because, this is Taurus energy, so it may be a little bit more subtle. But all of the upgrades that you were going to have, you already have right now. You've already been given them. Now, it's going to be a matter of how you use these upgrades and how they start to manifest, right? So we do have, of course, that moon over here in Capricorn. It does conjunct Pluto at the beginning part of the day, and then it immediately goes into Aquarius like a few hours later, right? So by 11:24, that moon's going to shift into Aquarius, right? Now, what's interesting about this moon in Aquarius is that it has a Uranus that's stationing in Taurus that's dispositing it, meaning that this moon in Aquarius is going to feel very weird. It's almost going to be like going up. It's almost going to be like looking up into the sky, and the stars aren't there's you can't see any stars. That's what it's going to feel like. So it's going to feel very auspicious. It's going to feel a little alienating. No pun intended. But this moon in Aquarius is definitely going to be an interesting one. Now, of course, it is going to be making the King Kong synergy to all of this, Virgo. And it does trine Mars, as soon as it comes into Aquarius. So there's going to be some relatability here. The moon doesn't necessarily dislike Aquarius. I think the moon actually likes to be in Aquarius. It gives the moon in Aquarius, gives it time to kind of detach a little bit emotionally to hopefully get a larger picture of the whole thing. That way we can kind of reassess and go from there, right? Now, this moon in Aquarius, since it's going to be feeling a little alienated with a Uranus dispositing it that is stationed, meaning that the lights are off, right? So maybe it's a cloudy night, if you will, and it's making a trend over to Mars, which doesn't like to be in Libra and doesn't really have much power. There's going to be some relatability here. And being that this is going to be 0 degrees, you're getting the pure Libra energy and you're getting the pure Aquarius energy. via Mars and the moon, right? So this can be a very powerful moment where it's going to be sort of like a seed that gets planted. Whenever I see zeros, whenever I see planets that make an aspect of zero, I feel like it's like a seed. I definitely feel like it's more subtle, but it's very, very powerful too. Um, it's like an ace, if you will. So it's like, because it's this air and it's like the ace of swords kind of energy. So something's going to be sort of like planted here, if you will, when it comes to how we can take action, you know, in a way that does promote a little bit more peace and harmony, but at the same time, we don't want to take an action or something like that that's going to still go against what we really want, what we truly feel. This moon in Aquarius is going to sort of help us. It's like, well, you know what? Is this going to be something that benefits the collective? You know what I'm saying? It's something that truly benefits the collectives, not something that just benefits one party or another, but literally everybody. The fact that this is at 0 degrees and this is happening is kind of a blessing, because I feel like Mars and Libra, you know, while Libra can be a little bit more diplomatic, that can kind of give the energy of like, well, let me take an action that only benefits one side, like in secret. This moon in Aquarius is going to kind of check Mars. You know what I'm saying? It's going to kind of check Mars. It's like, hey, look, we're all under the firmament, right? So it's like we are all in this together. So let's take an action that benefits the collective at large and not just one group or one side, because we are all in this together. So, said Mars in Libra, Mars in the capital city, if you will, and Mars does not know what to do. Mars is not very diplomatic, and Mars has like no console with them to try and help them translate this. So Mars is going to go speak to the king or whatever like that by himself, and he's already like, I don't know about this energy, right? I don't know about this. It's dispositor. Venus is in Leo, which does give a little bit of power, but like now Mars has to like, crap. Venus told me what to tell the king in Libra, but I couldn't quite get the full message. So now I gotta like assume almost. That's gonna be the thing about the Mars and Libra. It's going to be a lot of assumptions that happen. A lot of people are going to be taking actions assuming what the other person wanted, or how people are going to take actions that they assume are going to bring balance and harmony. That's going to be the dangerous part about this. You don't want to just assume things, right? But Mars is going to be sitting there like, damn, like, how do I? What message am I supposed to give? It's kind of nervous. Mars is a little nervous because like Mars isn't like, Mars is, you gotta think about it. Mars is a very youthful energy. It rules Aries, so it's very youthful, right? So it's like bringing a 6-year-old kid to speak on the behalf of an entire nation to like the emperor or something like that. The emperor ain't got time for that. It's talk to a 6-year-old kid. The 6-year-old kid's like the 6-year-old kid's probably gonna say something like, I think it'll be cool if we just all get along and just love each other and stuff. And the emperor's gonna be like, yeah, that's nice, kid. That's kind of naive, but that's nice. That's sweet. You'll eventually will grow out of that. The world will eventually beat that out of you. Like that's the kind of energy that this is. Even though what the kid says is true, even though what the kid says is true, you don't want this Mars and Libra to kind of beat that out of you, right? But we got to figure out a way to sort of present the information, if you will, in a more polished way, in a more upgraded way. So that's going to be the challenge of the Mars and Libra, right? Now, this moon, like I said, that's trining this energy is going to give Mars a little bit of help, a little bit of assistance, and help it to hopefully plant the seed to upgrade that sort of action in Libra to where it doesn't feel so naive and completely out of sorts and completely out of place. Hopefully this will plant some sort of emotional seed. So you'll probably see, like I said, this happens around 11:24 a.m. But just, I think this is a day that we'll probably will think back on. We're like, you know what, that was actually kind of important. Not only that, but this is the day that Uranus retrogrades, right? So I think it's also interesting how on this day that the sun is going to be on top of Black Moon Lilith at 5 degrees. So, you know what I mean? So, and this is interesting too, because first of all, Black Moon Lilith doesn't exist. It's just not physically, it's a calculation. And it's also retrograde, which means that it's turned off, and then the sun's on it. So any type of fears that you have, like it's like literally turning the light on, and it's like there's nothing here. Like there's like literally nothing here. He's like, but I swear I just saw a boogeyman. It's like, no, there's like literally nothing here. And this is at 5 degrees. Five is ruled by Mercury and Gemini. So it's really about the mind in many ways. Any fears and doubts that you have in your mind, like they're apparitions. It's like poof, poof. The sun's going like, there's literally nothing here. Or it's burning away all that stuff. It's purifying that aspect, right? It's alchemizing any of those fears, whatever, like that, turning that boogeyman into a freaking superhero that was actually here to help you, but you thought that it was something else. You thought it was something else trying to hold you back. Really, and really, it's probably one of your guides just trying to, meet you and stuff. Probably one of your guys that's just trying to make itself known to you. It's like, hey, I'm just here to try to help you with that thing. All right. So come the end of the day, of course, and I think it's interesting too how Black Moon Lilith immediately gets to 4 degrees, and then of course the moon is going to. Yeah, I think it's interesting how the moon quincunxes uh, Black Moon Lilith before it quincunxes the sun, even though they are just conjunct. So I think that's kind of interesting too. And then how we can almost not only do we get the sort of burning away and the purification and just like it's really seeing that the boogeyman's not there when we turn the lights on, especially when it comes to like our day-to-day reality and how we organize things. The moon quincunxes it first, so we already have a pretty detached moon as well, especially with the Uranus that's off. We have a pretty detached moon, and then we get the quincunx, which is going to be a little bit awkward because it's going to be that moment. It's going to be like, wow, I can't believe I can't believe I was afraid of that thing. I can't believe I was worried about that particular detail. I can't believe I was worried about that particular thought or communication. I can't believe I was worried that that thing wasn't going to go right. That's really what it's going to come down to. And it's going to feel a little awkward because it does kind of feel in many ways like a mini dunce moment. Like you have the dunce hat on. It's like, wow, I can't believe that was kind of that was a bit of a blooper, but it should go into the blooper reel. You know what I'm saying? Like if you get, I think the awkward part about this is that if you get too hard on yourself with this, it's not something to get too hard on yourself, especially considering the fact that the moon moves really, really fast, and it's just going to be a temporary moment. But it's going to be one of those things where it's like, wow, I really didn't have anything to worry about, you know. Oh, I kind of feel a little goofy, kind of feel a little dumb about it, you know. But you can make a laugh and just move on. You know what I'm saying? Laugh about it, move on. It'll go into the blooper reel. You know what I'm saying? And you keep it moving. You know. Then of course it's going to quincunx the sun. All right, which might be a little bit more interesting. And of course the sun's here at that same degree, so the moon's gonna be like, "Hey yo," so that was a little interesting, right? And the son's going like, yeah, I tried to tell him that, there was nothing really to worry about, but, he just insisted, you know, that this thought that just took over, just insisted that there was something there when really there was nothing there. And when Aquarius going to be like, yeah, I definitely could feel that, Of course, and, I'm way out here now, and Uranus is stationed, so yeah, I'm honestly, that's actually the interesting thing too, is that this first little bit of the moon in Aquarius, it's going to feel detached, but then as soon as Uranus goes like retrograde, like officially, the moon in Aquarius is going to feel oddly attached. It's very weird. It's one of those boomerang effects, which is why like Uranus rules over the weather, You know what I'm saying? And you would think, oh, Uranus retrograde. That means that the weather is about to be more peaceful, right? I'm like, no, not necessarily. If anything, it's going to get weirder. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, like I said, the moment that Uranus comes off, and Uranus, we have a Uranus in retrograde that's off. The energy is off. The lights are off, and that's dispositing the moon for like the last part of while the moon is here before it goes into the new moon. Man, talk about wanting to try and to escape to another world, but because you don't have any lights or any type of thing to go off of, you don't know where you're going. So you have to look for the light within. That's the interesting. That's the interesting thing about this, because the moon is reflecting light from the sun too during this time. So what happens when the lights go off in Uranus or in Aquarius? You got to focus on you and your light. Are you going to get overly attached to the emotions of certain timelines? Because that's the other thing about this. You know, we got to take into consideration the traditional rule of Aquarius, which is Saturn. Are we going to get caught up in all these different timelines and get so emotionally invested in these timelines that it starts to fuck up our now? You got to think about it. So memories and different timelines, we have emotions that are attached to these things, right? And think of these emotions as beads, if you will, or like little spheres. Now, we all are in some way emotionally, you know, still in place in times that have passed, right? It's just whether or not we allow those beads to become smaller, or whether they stay the same size, or sometimes they get bigger. But we can chip away at them over time, right? And the moon does help us with this, especially depending upon what sign the moon was in during said memory, if you will, right? But this moon in Aquarius with the Uranus that's going to go off, right? And then we have to rely on our own inner light. You could be starting to focus on certain beads, if you will, that are going to be a little bit more illuminated by the sun, that maybe happened 5, 10, 12, 20 years ago. And you still have some residual things from that you haven't addressed yet. Mercury in retrograde is your friend. So you can finally iron out all these details and these things that you've been suppressing. And the sun is here too to help out with that, to get rid of any fears with that too. So that's the thing about this. This is going to be like, oh my gosh, like there are certain things that you finally can get over that happened 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. That doesn't mean that you forget them, but you can finally emotionally kind of release those weights. So that bead that's so big, that has all that weight, that has all of that currency, if you will, because you've given it so much currency, right? It's going to start to shrink. It can start to shrink and get smaller and smaller and smaller, which frees you up in the now. So many of you guys are wondering, like, how come I can't have the abundance right now? It's because you have so much currency on something that happened in the past. You shrink that space and in many ways kind of devalue it, right? Not that whatever happened isn't important. I'm talking about things that like you may have some sort of trauma over, or something that, that makes you very, I guess you could say very sad, but something that you are emotionally trapped into in the past, to actually devalue that currency so that currency can be freed up and you can bring that into your now. And then you can law of attract into your life the abundance that you really want. But this comes down to your vibe, right? The law of vibration. Are you still vibrating in those past timelines? Something that is done that you can't change? This is kind of one of those moments where it's as blunt as this is going to sound. It's going to be like a get over it kind of energy. And you'll really start to feel this on Tuesday when Uranus is fully retrograde, right? So, like I said, it's going to happen around 11:24 p.m. The moon is going to be here at 8 degrees of Aquarius when this happens. So 8, and it's funny too because 8 is ruled by Saturn. It's ruled by the Capricorn energy, and Saturn is still a traditional ruler of Aquarius. So there's still that aspect. So you could say that Saturn is also dispositing this moon, right? Which is at 3 degrees, which is still in opposition to the sun and its black moon Lilith. So there's going to be this thing, and Mars is getting ready to actually quincunx this Saturn too. That's building up, right? Mars officially comes to 1 degree by the end of the day. So the gears are starting to turn, and the opportunities to actually overcome challenges from our past, challenging emotions from our past, to make a decision to move forward or backward, because that's going to happen too. Some people are actually going to choose to stay in the past and choose to stay in that place, probably because it ironically gives them some sort of weird kind of comfort. Because it may be easier to stay attached to a past emotion that's very intense, that's very big, and it's receiving this secondary light from the sun, so we can confuse that as warmth and comfort. It may be more comfortable for some people to stay in that place instead of moving forward into a new terrain, into a new land, into a new place, into a new self, a higher self, which is uncharted territory, which is scary, right? But what side are you going to pick? What decisions are you going to make? That's the thing about this. So, interesting day for sure, to say the least. And like I said, from 8 to 30 degrees, the only lights, I guess, in the sky as far as that goes, right? You can look up at the night sky, you see all the stars and everything like that. It's going to be a little cloudy, or you're not going to see them. So it's going to be weird. And then you have the moon there. So it's like you are the light up there, right? You are the constellations, if you will. Yeah. Pretty interesting. Let's get into the cards. Let's get into the cards. I'm using a deck that I haven't used in a while. I haven't used this deck in a long time. And it is actually cooperating pretty well with me. For the most part. All right, let's see what we got. Let's see what we got here. We have the card of ordinariness or the Eight of Pentacles. Yeah, there's definitely that's where the universe is actually. We have to learn to find the beauty in the ordinary, right? You know, there's not like a party that's going on. There's not like a whole bunch of things are going on. But what this picture is probably hiding is all the fairies that are dancing in the freaking trees and stuff like that to kind of keep the growth and everything like that. We got to find the beauty in the ordinary. And I think another thing is that a lot of people are almost sort of craving this because the world seems so intense and crazy right now. But doesn't that look serene and beautiful to just, we don't, sometimes I think in our minds we can make this whole freaking drama and everything about life, and we use that as a filter and stuff, but really we got to take that filter off and realize that doesn't have to be that fucking crazy, all the time. And so we can actually have a moment where we are just a little more peaceful. And remember, this is still the Eight of Pentacles. So this is about getting in the lab. This is that day-to-day reality. This is that day-to-day grind, especially when it comes to a passion or something that you want to be really creative about. The only way you're going to get better at it is by doing it daily. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you're not going to want to do it. Sometimes you're not going to feel like doing it. Sometimes it's going to feel like, on that particular day, if you give yourself a grade, maybe it's like a C day. Some days you're gonna feel like an A plus. Some days you're gonna feel like a C minus. Some days you're gonna feel like an F. But at least you went for it, right? At least you went for it. We also have abundance, right? I love this. You have the moon and the sun in this card. So this is fantastic. I want to say in this deck, this is the King of Pentacles. I want to say this is the King of Pentacles. So there's, like I said, in order for us to feel truly abundant, we have to be able to release any emotions that are tied up in the past that have grown in size and have a lot of value in currency because we valued it, we put it there. We have to be able to deflate that in a way. And the cool thing is that Jupiter is actually about to help with that because Venus and Jupiter are about to switch as far as like one's going to be coming offline and one's going to be coming back online, albeit Venus will be in its shadow. So we have to almost, this is sort of like a precursor. It's like, if we can deflate that sort of energy, right? And bring that currency into the now, we can start to feel much more abundant, but it starts with the vibe. So you have to start feeling abundant right now. That's the tricky part. And of course, we do have the card of slowing down. It is in reverse though. So I think that's pretty interesting too, how things are kind of slowing down. Now, the fact that it's reverse, I wouldn't necessarily say that things are speeding up. I think things may start to seem like they slow down in the external, but then and the internal things are going to start to speed up. Things are about to start to click. Things are about to start to make a little bit more sense. That's what it comes down to. It's still a turtle though. I feel like if anything, it's like, golly, do you feel like a turtle on your back? Are you just kind of doing this? You know what I'm saying, on your back? I think this is a moment where you may feel like you're on your back and you're like, crap, I'm stuck. How do I get up? And you're trying to like get up and everything. You're trying to push yourself up. This is the moment where it's like, if you feel like you're flailing on your back, you have to trust that the universe, God, Spirit's going to pick you up, turn you back over, and so you can go on your merry way. No one stays on their back forever, right? Except for Sagittarius. I don't know. Sorry, I had to make the joke. Anyways, you're not going to be on your back forever, all right? Spirit will come and pick you up, turn you around so you can move forward. Actually, what this comes down to. So let's go ahead and get the Oracle card for today as well. I think I'm making decent time. I got to leave here in about 10-ish minutes or so. 10, 15-ish minutes. So let's see what we got for the Oracle card. Passion and pleasure. Savor your life. How can you save your life if you're stuck in the past? How can you save your life if you're stuck on things that happened in the past that were definitely emotional, that were probably traumatic too? But we have to find a resolve to release any pent up emotions that we have in those areas so we can savor our life right now and savor what we have right now. How can we appreciate what we have right now and vibrate in that level of appreciation if we are still trapped in timelines, if we're trapped in what's happened in the past? And like, everyone's doing this to a degree. So I'm not saying that anyone is like doing this perfectly. We are all trapped in the past in some capacity. Some of us trapped in past lifetimes. I mean, we have a lot of DNA in us, right? So there's memory in that DNA. So it's like there's a lot of things that we are having to purge and to transform. But remember, like I said, the sun is here in Virgo, illuminating the space, which is going to help us to do that. Jupiter is about to come retrograde, which is going to help us to do that as well. So we may deflate certain currencies, which will help to, I guess you say, inflate other currencies, right? Especially the currency within ourselves and our own sense of worth and self-value and stuff. Savor your life. Enjoy your life. The only way that you really can get to this is by tapping into that ordinariness, if you will, appreciating day-to-day life, appreciate the daily grind, if you will, knowing that abundance, and also trusting that the universe is going to pick you up off your back and put you over so you can go about your merry way. I think it'll be a very positive day, but it will be a challenging day because we're being challenged to let go and let God. That is going to do it for your astrology forecast today. I hope that you all enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I definitely appreciate it. If you would like to have a personal reading with me, beloved, you can follow the link in the description below to my website, jphoenix.com. And as always, y'all take care, stay blessed. Have a wonderful, marvelous Monday. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace. Oh, I didn't hit the end recording part. Nice.